Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Generation X Nation. Now look at here. First things first, as always, thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the channel, who has left a comment, who has hit the like button. I appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed. Now, I came on here real quick to do a quick review of this Tyra Banks and America's Next Top Model documentary. I had time to watch it. I seen it all over Beyonce's good internet and social media, telling everybody how horrible a person that Tyra Banks was. Now, I didn't go and listen to everybody's commentary because I like to get my own perspective of things and look at it from both sides of the fence. So before I get started, I'm gonna say as always, everything I said is alleged. I say is alleged, in my opinion, for entertainment purposes only. Alleged, in my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Now, I caught a clip of Sherry Shepherd's show talking about Tyra Banks, and Sherry was breaking down crying, and that's what made me want to come and just look into it because I watched America Next Top Model. I'm gonna be honest with you, I was one of the fans, but somewhere along the line, I stopped watching it because I kept seeing the same stuff. Like I always say, wash, rinse, and repeat cycle. They bring the girls in, promise them the world, break their heart, send them back home packing. Now we found out they didn't go back home. They went to a hotel room and stayed there in the damn dark by themselves with no cell phones. But I digress. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to blame Tyra for everything, but I do believe that she holds the brunt of the responsibility. Now, in the earlier stages of the show, I guess the first couple of seasons, as they were trying to pick the show up and getting sponsorships and they all had low budget, I can understand why some things didn't go exactly as planned because it may not have the funding and the money for it. But Tyra, once you got the money and the funding, them shenanigans should have stopped. Okay. First thing we're gonna talk about is these drastic makeovers. I watched the show, and as I was watching the documentary, I remember that. I remember you sewing the weave in that white girl's hair, and she was telling you guys it hurt. We know that white women back then did not do braid down sewing weave. So her scalp and the tension, she probably wasn't used to that. And she was in tears crying, and y'all thought that was okay. And it wasn't. And I remember that show. And I never wore a sew-in, honestly, ever in my life. So I don't know how tight it was or did it hurt that bad. She could have been exaggerating, but I do remember her face looked like she was really in pain. And Tyra, being Tyra, just grinning, bear it, it'll be okay. Some of the ladies didn't like their makeover, but because you liked it, you forced them to wear it. They had to feel comfortable with themselves and how they look. And I think a lot of them didn't like their makeover. But again, me watching back there as a fan, I kind of blew it off like, they put in your mind, beauty is pain. You got to go through this to be beautiful. And I think that's the same thing that they was telling these young ladies. Because a lot of these young ladies was barely in their 20s, right out of high school or college. And their dream was to be a model. Okay. Um, Also the young lady, I forget her name, but the one that had the gap and y'all put them braces on. I remember that episode. That girl was in a lot of pain, but she believed that if you fix my smile, I could be the best model here. And she did really well. She really did during the cycle, but I can't remember if she won or not. Um, Also, there was another issue with I don't know if they didn't talk to this lady, and I wish they would have got hold of her. She was on the very first season, and she was a Christian. And they did that noon scene, and that's what made me remember her because she refused to take her clothes off and let them spray paint her. And Tyra and them kind of got on her about it, but she was the only person that I can remember thinking back now that stood on her values and said, "I'm Christian and I'm not getting nude for anybody. If that's what it takes to model, I just can't, I'm just not going to be a model." Now, eventually, she ended up getting booted off the show because they didn't have a photo to show. I don't remember if it was that meeting or the next, but she stood on her principle. She was a beautiful lady. So I wonder where she at. Because she let them know, I ain't finna do this for y'all. I ain't finna get naked on TV. I got a whole congregation of people back in my church looking at me. Then we're gonna talk about the last incident with well, not the last incident, the incident with the young lady Shandy. We all know what happened to her in Italy. I don't want to discuss it too deeply, but I will say this. If you was a cameraman and a producer in that room at that time, rolling that, filming that footage instead of stepping in and helping that lady and telling that man to leave because she looks passed out, then you, in my opinion, are just as guilty as the guy who did it to her. And if I was Shandy, I would go back and see what the statute of limitations is and charge y'all because y'all shouldn't have even aired that. Now, this is where I hold Tyra responsible for. If you were the producer and this was your show, I believe you get to see the final cut before it airs. And I know you want to look, you want the background of being a model film so people can see what happens behind the scenes. But if you looked at that particular episode and seen what happened to that young lady that night, and you okayed it to air, then that's where I hold you accountable, Tyra. So you're gonna have to prove to us that you did not okay that to be aired. You're acting like now if I'd have known better, just no. You was a woman, regardless if it's 1998 or 2003. No means no. A woman passed out should not be taken advantage of. That rule didn't change. Now, yes, we started the Me Too movement. People look at things like that differently now. But back then, you had a voice to say something, Tyra. And you've been around the industry long enough, and I'm sure you were inappropriately touched or whatever. You should have said something. And speaking of inappropriately touched, the one girl who told Tyra they got on her about her photo because of the way she was looking when that man was knelt down in front of her, and she said, "Hey, he was touching me inappropriate. He was flirting." Well, you just have to deal with that. No, never tell a woman that. I don't care if it was 2003 or 1993. There's never a place, and those rules applied a long time ago, way before Me Too movement. No means no. So, Tyra, I'm holding you accountable there. You should have never told that girl that. But I know you was trying to make good TV. Like Sherry said, oh, it's really hard for a black woman back then to sell a project and get her own. And you don't know what she. I get all that. I get all that, Sherry. But some rules never change. So even though you was crying for me, Argentina, for Tyra, and I appreciate that, I also understand that no means no in 1992, 2003, 2013, 2023. She knew better because she telling her how to handle it means it happened to her. And maybe you wanted to be a model so bad that you allow it pass. Maybe that girl didn't want to be a model that bad or didn't want it to pass. We know how it went back then. Last but not least, I'm gonna shout out to Eva, Yaya, and that girl Danny. They really, they were beautiful. They really, I think they actually, I think Yaya and I know Yaya and Eva are actually have been in movies, acting and stuff like that. So their career did go beyond America's Next Top Model. And Takara, the black plus size girl, absolutely gorgeous. Another thing I'm gonna blame Tyra. Tyra, you were in the model industry, so you already know about eating disorders and stuff like that. And you let Janice Dickinson, loudmouth behind, I'm America's first supermodel, call those women fat and all kind of stuff. Now, for y'all girls that are now Instagram models who get on there and do the regular famous pose where you turn to the back, and show your butt and then turn your head over the shoulder because all do the same pose, okay? Y'all all do the same pose. See your booty in a tight dress, fashion over. Sheen, I'm just being realistic. So y'all would not have made it on America's Next Top Model because Janet would have called y'all fat because y'all a little bit too thick for them, okay? They had a girl whose waist was this little on that show. All right. And she used to call these ladies fat. So when Takara came, she was telling Takara she was a plus size model. Let me tell you something. Takara, in my vision back there, and I didn't know her personally, she looked like she was about a size 8. 7, 8 or something. But back then in 2003, that was considered plus size. They wanted models to be size 0 to about a size 4. And that's what those ladies was thriving for. Why do you think they was falling out, not eating? Because they didn't want to get bloated. They don't want to eat carbs. They didn't want to drink water. That was unrealistic. And Tyra knew that. Being a model, you had to have known these women had eating disorders and the things they went through. And you allowed these women to suffer through that instead of saying, don't do that. Eat something. You don't have to, even though she was on the camera, you don't have to be a size 2, whatever you could see, because you see pictures when they would look at the photos, they was telling them, oh, you got a little pudge here. That Janice was doing that mostly. Okay. And when Tyra went into Miss Tiffany phase, the one that told y'all she didn't give a damn what Tyra said. She basically said, F Tyra. If I see Tyra today, I'm going to whoop Tyra's behind in that video. The one that Tyra was screaming at, talking about we was rooting for you. And she said Tyra talked about her family, her kid, and all of that. If y'all look real close, though, Boris Kojo is on the corner. And he's looking at Tyra. Even he's shocked, like, what the hell is going on? His whole face says it all. If you look closely the next time you watch it, okay? Tyra, you should never screamed and hollered at that girl. And again, I know it was edited. We didn't get to see it all, but allegedly that argument went on for a long time. So I blame Tyra for that. You shouldn't be talking about her kids or her family. And maybe that's why she got up as upset as she was. You too. You were a beautiful lady, but Tyra probably blackballed you because of what happened on that show. Maybe people didn't want to work with you. And apparently, a lot of the models that left the show didn't get to work because they came from that show. And they felt like y'all didn't get it in the mud. Y'all went on TV, did a little rally thing, and now you think you're a model. That hurted a lot of them because some of them were really beautiful women who should have probably had a great modeling career. And the reason I say what I say is Tyra Banks said this was her puppy. She thought of the show. This was her project. And she sold it to UPN. Nobody else wanted it. If you look back at UPN Network back in the day, UPN used to stand for You Pick a Ninja. Okay. All the black shows were started on UPN. UPN was a new network. So the black shows helped elevate UPN. It would get them ratings and get them viewership. Once they got the ratings and viewership they needed, then they started cutting them off at the wrist. You're like, bam, we don't need you no more. Bam, we don't need you no more. It was Lisa Ray and Dwayne Martin show when he was married to her. She was his ex-wife. The comedian, I forget his name, but Malcolm Jamar Warner and the comedian, they had a show when they was roommates, America's Next Top Model. So it was a lot of shows with black people on UPN to help lift that network. Fox did the same thing when it launched in the late 90s, early 90s, late 1980s. It was like, they had Living Single, they had In Living Color, they had New York Undercover, they had Mark. They used all these shows to launch them. Once they get launched, then they cancel them. So Tower was a show to help UPN get launched because nobody else wanted to mess with the show because it was an all-black show. ABC and NBC and CBS, for some reason back in the day, didn't really have a lot of black sitcoms or even black reality shows outside of the Jeffersons and Good Times. So let's just keep it a buck. Those are the only two blacks you probably remember. And the Cosby Show. I'll leave it like that. So Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, yeah. And the reality shows were just getting new back then. And you had, I think, The Apprentice with Omarosa, that was kind of new, and that idiot in chief up there in the White House. They had, I think, a Fear Factor, like she said. I think Survivor was coming on, The Bachelor. So reality shows were just kind of just getting in there, and people didn't really know what to think. So I understand what Sherry was saying, how hard it was to get the show pitched and get it started. But you should have protected those ladies a little better than what you did. Once the sponsorships and the money start coming into that show, Tyra, and you start really getting the money, then you should have made and demanded more from the producers and the people that was running the show and the network to make sure these women were taken care of. It shouldn't have been that your people of different cultures, you had people doing makeup and people doing hair on people that they did not understand how their hair and how their makeup should look. That should never happen. Now let's get to Jay Alexander, Jay Manuel, and Nigel, the photographer. That was basically your dream team. And for you to treat them the way you did, they helped launch that show. You didn't do it by yourself. We love watching Jay Alexander teaching women how to walk. We like Jay Manuel's creativity and the different things he would, give them little hints on how to wear this or that and what colors match their skin. And we like Nigel the way he was shooting them pictures. He was really good, and he made the girls feel confident, and he talked to them. He coached them through the photo shoots. And you kept saying, "Oh, well, it wasn't me. It was the network." Baby, no. Because you made enough money by then where you could have said, if they go, I go, and canceled the whole thing. And then eventually they fired you from your own show. How was it your show and you didn't even own it, Tyra? That didn't even make any sense to me. Okay. So once again, I don't blame her for everything, but I feel like some things she should have known better because she should have known, as a woman of color and a model who experienced a lot of that stuff, you should have been the first one to say, absolutely not. Don't let that happen. That man touch you, you tell him, don't do, you know what? Matter of fact, I'm going to have a conversation with that model or his agency or his manager. You should have done that. He did what? Okay, don't worry. I'm going to talk to his manager and see what we can do. And we're going to get this taken care of. That should have been it. Not saying, oh, well, you have to fight for. No, no, Tyra. And remember, these women looked up to you. You were one of the first African American supermodels outside of Naomi Campbell. And I understand Beverly Johnson and all them, but you were the new up and coming one. This is the one they was looking at. You on Sports Illustrated, okay? They're still a little bit immature at that age. Their followers, they're looking to you for guidance, and you was guiding them all in the wrong way, and now they all traumatized. Now they all traumatized. Ain't that something? And then you only came up to clear your name because apparently they were doing this documentary with or without you, and you decided, well, let me get on here and make and clear my name so everybody don't think I'm the bad person. It just didn't work. And for you to sit here and say we can try to do a season 25, those three young men up there, Nigel, Jay, and Jay said, whatever, we won't be there. And I don't think the audience will be there after this. I think you should go ahead and stay where you at in Australia with whoever it is you down there with, probably dating somebody outside your race. I don't think there's a lot of us live in Australia. And enjoy your life, raising your son. I believe you do have a son now. Raising your son and your family and leave that whole top model stuff alone. It does not need to be rebooted. That's all I'm saying. And the fact that you couldn't come and see Jay Alexander while he was in the hospital recovering from a stroke. And I know you've been back to the States, but you sent some flowers and you couldn't go see him in person, put your pride aside or whatever beef because that man was fighting for his life. And then you still haven't talked to Jay Manuel after you fired him and then brought him back and wouldn't speak to him on the panel and faked it for the cameras. It makes me lose respect for you, period. So stay in Australia. Leave those young men alone. They have gone on to do more things in their careers, be just as successful as you. And now we know who the real Tyra Banks is. And I am saying this. I am very, very disappointed. And last but not least, you actually brought that lady on your show and played the film again like it was appropriate on your talk show. I forgot about that. Yeah, you were wrong as two left shoes, Tyra. The respect I tried to hold for you, I'm starting to lose a little bit of that too. That was wrong. By then, you should have known it was wrong. But hey, anything for ratings, right? And with that being said, this is Gen X Nation. May you guys go and have a great rest of your day. Like, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. And Tyra Banks, it just ain't looking good, sis. You guys have a great day. I'll see you next time. Peace. And I'm gonna go watch these Southern Bells, okay? And I'm out.